They're not saying boo, they're saying Drew in Detroit.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We got a brand new week, everybody, at Locked On Lions. Matt Dery and Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day on the #1 sports podcast network. On a Monday, happy MLK Day, everybody, January 19th into Tuesday, January 20th. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget about our Everydayers Club, which we'll tell you about in a little bit. But a huge day for Detroit, as yes, the offensive coordinator job has been named. It has been hired upon. It has been filled by Dan Campbell. And it's a name that nobody, including me, thought in a million years would get the job or even was up for the job. And maybe that's my fault for not thinking about it. But Drew Petzing is the guy coming over from the Arizona Cardinals. We'll get into all of that coming up momentarily. Also, now that Petzing is in, I got the next move for you. This is the guy that the Lions need to bring over from Arizona as well. We'll get into that. A report out of Miami from Jeff Darlington that covers the Dolphins. He says Mike McDaniel was not the ideal fit in Detroit. We'll discuss that. And we got to get into the weekend and what took place on Sunday and Saturday, including our Rams. Whew, thank goodness. In spite of Sean McVay's coaching malfeasance, yes, the Rams take care of Ben Johnson. Benedict is out, and the Bears are done, and the Rams will play the Seahawks next week. Locked On Lions today brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel officially in playoff mode every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, let's discuss Dr. Drew setting up an office at 222 Rodwood Drive. Yes, Drew Petzing, 38 years of age, coming over from the Arizona Cardinals, where for the last 3 years he was Jonathan Gannon's offensive coordinator. Drew Petzing is your new OC. So it's not Mike McDaniel. It's not Mike Kafka. It's not Brian Daboll. It's not Zach Robinson, T. Martin, any of the folks that the Lions were looking at. All right. And there were 7 names that were kind of linked to the Lions, yet Detroit goes outside the box and secretly, to be honest, hires Drew Petzing for this job. He, of course, replaces John Morton, who lasted 1 year. And Drew Petzing is a guy that when you want to talk about this hire, the first thing that has to be said is that he fits what the Lions want to do and have been doing. Drew Petzing is an under center offensive coordinator. Drew Petzing loves the run game. All right. Arizona Cardinals in 2 of the 3 seasons that Petzing was the offensive coordinator, the Cardinals were a top 12 run team. All right. 2 years ago in 2024, they were number 2 in the league in rushing, in average yards per attempt over 5 a game with James Conner. This year, the Arizona Cardinals offense was basically one person. It was basically Trey McBride. He loves tight ends. He loves under center football. He loves 12 personnel, and he's very, very consistent, and he's a fit for this franchise. All right. How do I feel about it? I'm meh on this hire. I think he's fine. I was hoping to see a little bit more dynamic. I was hoping to see a little bit more something, outside the box. Here's the thing. Drew Petzing is not going to be leaving anytime soon for a head coaching job. All right. There's things he does well. There's things that Arizona Cardinals fans were unhappy about this past year when it came to creativity, when it came to aggressiveness. All right. And Jonathan Gannon and he, it didn't work in Arizona. All right. And a lot of it was not Petzing's fault. Number one, he had to coach a quarterback in Kyler Murray that was never healthy. But again, there was some success over the 3 years. Like I said, with a guy like Trey McBride, who this year just absolutely blew up at the tight end position to the point of 106 catches, 1,070 yards, and 5 touchdowns averaged over the last 3 years. Trey McBride is a stud, and he used the tight ends very, very well. And he's going to fit what the Lions do. All right, which is they want to run the football. They want Goff under center, not all the time, right? But Petzing is a good fit for what the Lions already are. And that's probably why they did this. All right, a guy like Zach Robinson in Atlanta, there's more RPO stuff there. There's more 4 or 5 wide receiver stuff there that Atlanta did. Petzing fits the bill. It is not sexy by any stretch of the imagination. It's not exciting by any stretch of the imagination. It's a solid hire. And it's a fit hire for Dan Campbell. All right. Steady commitment to the run game. And let me correct myself. In 2 of the 3 seasons in Arizona, they were top 10 rushing. Cardinals ranked near the top of the league in 2 tight ends and 3 tight end deployment. So Sam Laporta's got to be thrilled with this hire because this guy wants to use the tight end. He got so much out of Trey McBride this year that he was a first-team All-Pro. And one thing that Petzing did very well, and I'm going to talk about Ben Steele in a second, and that's a name that I want you to remember. And I'm going to just bookmark Elijah Higgins for a second. Bookmark that. I'm coming back to it. But they utilize the tight end very well. And this year, with Jacoby Brissett having to be the quarterback and James Conner hurt for a lot of the year and having to use backup running backs for most of the year and guys off the street, the Cardinals did all they could, right? So this is not a sexy selection. I'm okay with it, but I'm going to be more okay with it if Petzing brings his tight ends coach with him. And I'm going to talk about that as the next move coming up next. But bottom line here is the following. The Lions are not going to veer from what they do. And give the Lions credit for something. They interviewed 7 or 8 guys. All right. They didn't just go out and hire. Last year, they screwed up. They really screwed up. They went out and hired a guy in John Morton that they knew. It wasn't right away per se. I think it was actually later in January than, like what they're doing now with Petzing. Today's the 19th. I think Morton was hired on the 30th. But the Lions a year ago should have casted a wider net and not just played buddy ball. All right. But this is a guy that at 38 years of age, highly respected around the league. He worked for Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota. Stefanski loves him. Guess who else he worked with? Guess who else he's buddies with? That's right. Benedict. Ben Johnson and Petzing were co-coaches at Boston College. They're so close. Petzing was in Ben Johnson's wedding years ago. Was one of the groomsmen. I don't know if Dan Campbell called up Ben Johnson and they had a conversation about it, but Petzing's on that tree. Norv Turner tree, Kevin Stefanski tree. That's where Petzing has been. A lot of different places, and went from Cleveland. He was in Minnesota with Stefanski when Stefanski was the OC. Went to Cleveland with Stefanski when he took the head coaching job. And he was 2 years as the tight ends coach there and then was the quarterbacks coach in 2021. And he coached Jacoby Brissett for 11 games in Cleveland, where they went 7-10, and then went to Arizona with Jonathan Gannon and spent 3 years there. And again, having to deal with the Kyler Murray situation where when Murray was healthy in 1 of the 3 years that Petzing was the OC in Arizona, Cardinals offense was 12th in scoring. That was 2024. This year, basically, Murray was out most of the year, and they had Brissett playing, and they survived. So Drew Petzing, the new offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, not a name that many people thought would be considered. I'm giving you a name right now before we read some spots. All right. Coming up next, I want to tell you about the guy that I think needs to be the next hire for the Lions, and that is Ben Steele. Steele for tight ends coach. Let's do the business. We'll do it after this on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Thank goodness for the Rams. And Locked On Lions for today, brought to you by Ultimate QB Football Legend. Guys, draft pick positions are set. So many teams are looking for that franchise quarterback. Ever wish to become a pro QB, getting drafted first overall by your Detroit Lions? Well, now you can. And it's simple. It's all in a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number one draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number one quarterback career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. You sign contracts, you train, upgrade yourself, build chemistry, and evolve your teammates, give input to your general manager on roster moves, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. All right? Ultimate QB, totally free to play, no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game or two on the go. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. We've got something special just for the Locked On Lions listeners. Use the promo code Locked On in all caps in the game store to get a free boost at the start of your career. Ultimate QB, Football Legend, QB1, it's your legacy. And Locked On Lions for today, also brought to you by Prize Picks. And wouldn't you know it, me on a Monday not being able to find the our beautiful drop in on the video for Prize Picks. I'm losing my ever loving mind here. Just looking for the read at the bottom, that says Prize Picks on it. There it is. See how it works like that? Prize Picks is the best. All right. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to stay locked into every moment than with Prize Picks, a daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. With football season coming down to its final stretches here, now's the perfect time. Close it out strong, especially this weekend with the AFC and NFC championship games. Prize Picks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you build simple lineups around player stat projections. No drafting, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs, all right? Prize Picks, incredibly easy to get started. Just pick two or more players, choose more or less on their stat projections, and you win. Makes watching games more engaging, especially here during the playoffs and the big game. Favorite feature, early payouts, which let you cash out if a player gets off to a hot start. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Everybody, Matt Dery back with you. It is a Monday edition of a Locked On Lions. Stacey Dale's NFL Network scheduled to join us on Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. She had the best angle. She had a video of that Caleb Williams touchdown pass to Cole Kmet, and that video went viral. She did a great job with that. All right, hey, thanks for making Locked On Lions your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. If you haven't already, check out the new Locked On Lions Everydayer Club. All right. You're going to get an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Lions, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you're listening, and every other major podcast app. Plus, I'm inviting you to join us on our members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord. We got the group chat going. It's fun. You can talk to me. I'm on there all the time. All right. Go to lockedonlions.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right. Tyler Roll left the Lions after the season, their tight ends coach, to become the offensive coordinator at Iowa State. Iowa State lost Matt Campbell to Penn State. I have no idea who they hired as their head coach. Didn't do enough prep on that. It's my fault. But Tyler Roll was the Lions tight ends coach this past season, of course, replacing Steve Hayden, who was here for 2 years. So the Lions need a new tight ends coach. And there's a guy, and this is a Drew Petzing buddy and Drew Petzing fellow coach in Arizona, Ben Steele. All right, America's tight ends coach. That's what they called him out in Phoenix. The Arizona writers, the guys that cover and girls that cover the Cardinals, people around the Cardinals. I talked to a couple people today that told me, oh my gosh, is Petzing taking Ben Steele? I'm like, who's Ben Steele? They said he's the tight ends coach. They love him. The work he did with Trey McBride this year was fantastic. Elijah Higgins, who was just a journeyman wide receiver, they turned him into a tight end this year, and Ben Steele was incredible with him. Lions have an opening for a tight ends coach. Let's go get America's number one tight ends coach, Ben Steele. 47 years of age, played in the NFL as a tight end with the Niners, Raiders, Seahawks, Vikings, Packers, and Texans from 01 to 06. Retired and has been a tight ends coach both in the college ranks at UC Davis. Also, tight ends coach with the Buccaneers in 17 and 18. Tight ends coach with the Falcons 2020. And tight ends coach with the Cardinals the last 3 years. They love him in Arizona. Love him. And the Cardinals, of course, looking to replace Jonathan Gannon. There's already some folks in Arizona that were hoping that the new coach of the Cardinals, whoever it is, retains Ben Steele. This is a guy that is beloved out there. If I'm the Lions, go grab him. Go grab him. Lions need a tight ends coach. And I got news for you. The Lions this year, the tight ends, once Laporta and Brock Wright went out, were horrible. Shane Zylstra, Anthony Ferkser, Zach Horton. These guys didn't block. They didn't catch. There just wasn't much there. And if you're bringing in a guy like Drew Petzing, and he's big on 3 tight ends on the field at times, they call it 13 personnel in the business. 1 running back, 3 tight ends. You're going to need to grab another tight end in free agency or maybe even draft one this year. Petzing's big on it. Go get Ben Steele, as he was known out in Arizona as America's tight ends coach, they called him. Great dude, supposedly is beloved by the players. So I'd love to see Petzing tell Dan Campbell to bring over Ben Steele. Are you guys looking for a tight ends coach? Let's go pluck the guy from Arizona. He did a marvelous job with Trey McBride this year. McBride was the best tight end in football this year. And working with Ben Steele averaged 100 catches a year. So let's make that happen. Keep an eye on Ben Steele. Steele. That would be awesome to go see. All right, so everybody saw this, and it was very, very interesting today. Report from Jeff Darlington from ESPN, who covers the Dolphins, and I'm assuming he's going to be covering the national championship tonight. Go Hoosiers, by the way. My son has been in Bloomington since 8 this morning. And he is an alum, and the biggest night in Indiana history could be tonight. But anyway, Darlington from ESPN covers the Dolphins and put out a report today that the Lions didn't view Mike McDaniel as, quote unquote, the right fit. We had talked a lot about McDaniel, who interviewed for the Lions offensive coordinator job last Tuesday. I said, hey, look, while I'm not in love with it, I understand that would be a home run hire from a sense of creativity. He's been a head coach, and knows Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco didn't call the plays, but highly regarded. But Darlington, quote, according to ESPN, described McDaniel to the Lions was least likely to materialize and, quote unquote, was not quite the right fit for them. McDaniel is also interviewing for a ton of head coaching opportunities, including in Cleveland, the Raiders. He didn't get the Atlanta job because Kevin Stefanski got that one. And obviously he didn't get the Giants job because John Harbaugh did. So I don't know if this is just McDaniel floating this out to Darlington, like, look, I'm not coming to Detroit. I don't know if this was, I wasn't the right fit. And he says this to Darlington after Petzing was hired, almost like I was the one that turned him down, not them turning me down. But I always kind of did question fit there. I just was hoping that the Lions would go outside the box. That's all. And I'm sure there's Lions fans right now going, oh my gosh, look, Mike McDaniel might still get a head coaching job. Heck, Buffalo has an opening now. As Sean McDermott got fired after 9 years with the Bills. And look, you need a new voice after 9 years. And the Bills got screwed a little bit on that Brandon Cooks play and the catch that wasn't and the interception, but Buffalo played a valiant game, and that wasn't even Josh Allen's best day. And then they nearly won in Denver. So maybe McDaniel talks to the Bills. There are so many openings, so many. It's crazy. But yes, according to Jeff Darlington of ESPN, McDaniel wasn't the ideal fit here. It is what it is. Time will tell. All right. But I still think McDaniel is going to get a head coaching job before this is all said and done. And I don't think the Lions were waiting on him at all. So, all right, let's talk a little about the games this weekend. And my goodness, Sean McVay, what were you doing? Thank God the Rams hung on in spite of, and McVay admitted after the game he made some bad calls, but that was scary, scary as hell. This is a Monday Locked On Lions. Locked On Lions today brought to you by FanDuel, officially in playoff mode at FanDuel every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets that you like the most. All right, open your profit boost pack first thing on game day. This Sunday, do it. And see what boost you want to apply. The boost let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boost give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks and apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, so the Final Four in the NFL is set. And listen to me. All right, now I'm going to say this. And Lions fans, listen up. The Detroit Lions are not that far away from being in the Final Four if you watch these games this weekend. Was that great football being played? Did you watch the 49ers go into Seattle and absolutely get boat raced? Did you watch the Texans and who the Texans play? The Patriots? There were like 700 turnovers in that game. New England advances. Denver couldn't stop Buffalo and vice versa. And yesterday, and I know it was snowing. I know it was snowing in Chicago at Soldier Field. Touchdown Bears. Lost. As Caleb Williams threw the ball to the other team a gazillion times. Yes, I'm well aware of the throw to Cole Kmet. Oh my gosh. That was special. That was even Bears hater Matthew Paul Dery is just admitting that was one of the best throws I've ever seen. Holy hell. Like backpedaling, 3 defenders in his face, across his body. Perfect dime. Back corner of the end zone to Cole Kmet. Might have been a little shove. But thank God the Bears are done. Thank you, Benedict, for having a great year. Peace out. You're out. Rams, Seahawks this weekend. Sean McVay of the Rams. Look, Sean McVay is an elite coach. All right. I'm not saying he's not. But what on earth was that yesterday? The whole game, he's got Stafford. First half, it's like Stafford throwing, Stafford throwing, Stafford throwing. You're averaging 5 yards a pop on the ground, bro. You got Kyron Williams. What are you doing? Second half, they finally come out and run. Thank God. All right, good stuff. Then, with the lead, 17-10, and the ball, 2:07 to go, third down. Bears have, a timeout left and the 2-minute warning. You have the MVP in Matthew Stafford as your quarterback, and you hand the ball off and punt. Really? What? So that they were going to have to use the timeout before no, if you run a play that takes 7 seconds, the clock's going to stop anyway at the 2-minute warning. That was immensely wussish by McVay. Then in overtime, the Rams have the ball. 3rd and 1. he runs a fake handoff to Nakua and pitches it to Blake Corum out wide, making him run 7 yards just to get back to the line of scrimmage. He got 6, but it was not enough because he needed 7. What? That was an even worse call. Thank God Caleb threw the interception. Great play by Cam Curl, and the Rams came down, and the thicker kicker hit the game winner. But Sean McVay, after the game, admitted, man, I let our team down. I made some bad calls. You think? You got Stafford. Let him get a first down. Ice the game. He was throwing way too much early in the game when he had the run game working. Then he has the run game working, which is fine. But on 3rd and 6, let Stafford cook. Let him throw to Nakua or Devontae or Parkinson's a stud. Just a basic handoff. We're punting. Oh my God, that was just absolute sissy ball. Then the Bears, of course, came out and tied the game. And I was stunned Ben Johnson didn't go for 2. Wow. Played for overtime. And Benedict in the first half, some of his going for it moves on 4th down was also a head scratcher. All right. More tomorrow on Drew Petzing, and maybe we'll do a little Arizona guest tomorrow. That's a possibility. Stacey Dales from NFL Network on Wednesday. Much more to do this week. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen. I hope you took some time today to remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and what he meant just for equality in this country and everything that he did as a man. That's why we celebrated today. Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. We are back again tomorrow.